Jarom, tell me about your bike.
It's a 2017 Beta XTrainer, and it is amazing. We grew up in the two-stroke world where the motocrossers, where you had no power on the low end, and then if you want the low end grunt to crawl up a hill, you get a four-stroke.
It is funny. When we were kids, two-strokes were on the motocross track and four-strokes were on the trails.
Performance and handling have made the XRs leaders on the trail year after year. And this bike is always ready to go. And
it's all four-strokes on the motocross track, and I feel like the two-strokes rule the day on the single track. And this bike's a good one that way. So why is it here? What happened?
We went to 5 miles of hell. It started to make this racket that just that made me think the bottom end was going out again.
That would be disheartening.
It was terrible. I was like, I just finished tearing this bike apart. Brand new bike for me. And put a new crankshaft in there, a rebuilt crankshaft, and now it's gone out again. That's terrible. 2 miles out. We made the whole 5 miles of hell trail and most of the return trip, and I failed on the last just 2 miles of easy stuff.
How did you get home?
Mike grabbed a strap and he'd hold it, sitting there on his trials bike, holding the strap while I held the strap with my hand, and he towed me.
Which is a little bit ironic, because I seem to recall not too long ago, you used your motorcycle to tow one of mine out of the red trail. So I guess that's a little bit of karma.
Well, karma.
Your way.
I thought I was the hero. Turns out I needed to be saved.
What did you think of the 5 miles of hell?
5 miles of hell is painted with white markers to tell you where to go throughout his... Yeah, you would get very lost. I came out of there thinking I never want to see white paint on a hard surface again in my entire life. But it wasn't long until I thought, I want to try that again. I think I want to go down there again. The crux is terrible.
We weren't watching. So what did you catch? I didn't sit down there.
I caught that and that.
All the things.
I don't know, I was trying to look up there. Right before the crux is even worse, I think. Oh! After the crux it seemed to get better, more like the red trail. Still harder.
So, was it what you expected? I mean, you'd researched the trail, so you knew what you were getting into. Was it in line with your expectations?
No, because the internet lies. And I watched lots of YouTube videos telling how to do these obstacles. Here's where the tough stuff is. Here are the lines you can take. It didn't work. The hills are much steeper. On the internet, it looks like it's like this, and on real life, it's like this. The obstacles are much bigger. It was an eye-opening experience.
You're saying the internet lied to you?
The internet lied to me.
What?
And every single YouTube video lied to me. And even my own YouTube video and my own GoPro videos, as we're going home, I'm looking at my computer and going, oh, that doesn't look that bad, as I'm watching my GoPro footage. Oh, I want to go do that again. And I'll get into it in real life. I'll see that that's difficult.
So you rode 5 miles of hell on Friday. The Beta went south on the way out. You took it apart in the parking lot, thinking that maybe there was a chance of rescuing the bike for day 2. Starting with the clutch side, finding that everything was okay, turning it back to the magneto side, and learned that the flywheel had come off of the engine. Talk to me about that process.
I kind of fiddled with the kickstart a little bit. I didn't dare run it. If it's broken down, I don't want to make things worse. But I did move the kickstarter a little bit, and it felt stiff. So I thought, I want to get into the kickstart side. So we tipped the bike over on the left side, take all those covers off, look in there. Everything looked great. Button that back up, tip it over to the right side, which turns out we didn't need to do. The left side that we're taking off here doesn't have oil in it. Take it off, I pull the cover off, there's just a shaft there, no flywheel. I hadn't tightened it up enough, the nut must have worked its way loose, and the flywheel worked its way loose, and that racket I heard was probably the flywheel bouncing around a little bit, and very quickly shredding off the woodruff key as it spun free on the crankshaft.
So at that point, you'd figured out what's wrong. But what, you don't carry a spare Woodruff key with you on the trail? What's wrong with you?
I had spare about everything we'd need. Spare tubes. In fact, I did all this work with only the tools that I had carried through the trail.
That's true. I went to help him once, indicating that I had a nice tool for the job, and he said, nope, I want to try to do it with only the tools on my back.
I have a new Woodruff key. We can just pull this cover off, get the flywheel out of the way, slip the Woodruff key in there, get the flywheel back on. These flywheels are weird. They're backwards. When we were kids, you put the stator in there and then the flywheel on. These ones, the stator is out on this cover. So I'll probably try to put it in backwards, just from building working on older bikes. Imagine my surprise when I pulled this out and I wasn't looking here, looking there, and my flywheel was missing. And pretty quick I realized it was up here. This bolt or the nut had come off and the flywheel had totally separated, which is pretty handy. Usually you have to get a tool, a special puller, probably from Nate, to pull the flywheel off. Unfortunately, as the flywheel came loose, it shredded the key. It goes right in that slot right there. We have half the key still here, right down the bottom left, I think. Get the Woodruff key on there, tighten the nut better this time, and then go back to San Rafael swell and try it again.
Round two.
Round two. All right, let's do this.
The other way.
Oh, this way.
That's really hard to remember. When did they start putting stators on the cover instead of...
And is it the Austrian and Italian bikes, like do the newer Yamahas and others do that?
I think so. Now I don't remember.
On the shots where I go like this, can you Photoshop some hair onto the back of my head?
Okay, Homer. Oh, you're running the same tire that old Rich Larson runs.
Oh yeah?
It's an IRC Gagoda. I don't know how to say that. Gagoda. Well, I hate to tell you this, but that means you had no excuse to not make it up the crux. Yay! What would you say was the hardest part?
I think the crux and right before it, the piece leading up to the crux,
that's a tight
and
corner,
there's kind of a ravine, and it's a mess. I don't know how anybody gets through that without help.
What was your favorite part?
I think I most liked the stuff beyond the crux, and even a little, not just right after, but more beyond it. Got the stuff where it was challenging, but I could actually do it. And I think it was the stuff that's not these stair-step things. There was some stuff that was good slick rock and steep, and a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of maneuvering, but wasn't just get 5 guys on the bike and carry the bike up.
We spent a little time at a feature that we knew had a name, but didn't remember what the name was. I think it's called Stacked Records. Does that sound right to you?
Stacked Records?
Stacked Records.
That was one discs, record player, which it looks like that.
Old school records, just really thick records. That's the one where Caleb spent a little time pondering at the bottom. It's where we got lost. You come up on the top of this little ridge and there's a white line that actually makes a 90 degree. Somebody needed his glasses and went right on over that, and we ended up trying to find the trail on the other side, which actually climbing back out of that was kind of cool.
Here, you want to do it yourself? I'm probably just going to try walking it
up. But then climbing through, up over the Stacked Records and then across some bumps and on this little ridge line. I thought that was kind of a cool feature. It was easy to grip, like your tires didn't spin out, technical enough that it was challenging, but not insurmountable solo. I like that one pretty well.
Yeah, that's one that I look at and go, I'd like to play some more on that one.
And how was your attempt at the crux?
It's fantastic. I rocked that thing. The crux is there's something that we knew going in, but didn't quite know it until we saw it, that the crux in and of itself is pretty bad, but getting to the approach to it where you're starting to climb up the rocks is terrible. And so you got these stair steps you're working on that are throwing you around. I took 2 attempts at it and failed both times. The first time I kind of went off and I thought, all right, I'll try that again. And this was just to get up the first little section where you can decide, I'm going to go straight up or I'm going to go out around on an easier path.
The hero line and the zero line.
The hero and the zero, and I didn't even make it to the zero.
Yeah,
So I
you
go
got
and I try
bucked.
again, and I decide, and I slipped wrong, gassed it wrong. You said I came in hot. I don't know, as I'm looking at the video, I did it just like Rich Larson did it. Just worked out better for me.
Identical, couldn't tell them apart. Compare the red trail to the 5 miles of hell.
The red trail is a good, fun, keep moving, a few challenging spots, help each other in a spot or two, but you feel like you've succeeded something. 5 miles of hell is beat you over and over and over again. It's 5 miles of hell is a lot harder than the red trail.
And I thought the red trail was good. It was better for Caleb. Caleb did all right. He let it get into his head on the 5 miles of hell because some of those obstacles were rather daunting. And he would stare at them for a while and look at them and think about them, and sometimes he would tack it and sometimes he wouldn't. And occasionally I had to ride his bike over some of the more difficult obstacles. So he really just wasn't prepped for that ride and ended up taking the first bailout after the crux, mind you. And the red trail was great for him. He went from back of the pack and a little bit timid to front of the pack, attacking the challenges in the red trail. And so that was a good ride for him to regain some confidence, I felt like. So if you're preparing to ride the 5 miles of hell, how would you do it in hindsight?
I liked what you did. We got into 5 miles of hell the first day and then did the red trail the next day. Either way, probably would have come back and gone, that was the right way to do it. That was good. To warm up on the red trail and the next day go to the white trail to 5 miles of hell.
So you'd do it 2 consecutive days, red trail and then 5 miles of hell?
Well, right now I feel like you have to because it took us a whole dang day to do. We could have hiked 5 miles of hell faster than we rode 5 miles of hell.
I think the red trail's a good primer. And if you're not comfortable with the red trail, you probably don't touch the 5 miles of hell trail. But good times anyway. Would you do it again?
I think I'd do it again. I left going, that's the bucket list item is scratched off, I'm done, and now I'm already thinking I might want to go again.